I could come out here and start with a snappy intro all about, Godzilla and the many clones it spawned, maybe tie it into Godzilla v. Kong somehow with that coming out soon. But that's not what you're here for. That's not why you clicked on this video. You clicked on this video to find out about Pulgasari, the Godzilla knockoff that was made by Kim Jong-il and so many people that were kidnapped. Just so many. So let's get to that. Everyone knows North Korea. I don't think I need to go on about all the, human rights violations and all the censorship and just the terrible quality of life condition over there. That's not what this is here about. But did you know that former ruler and father of Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-il, was a huge movie buff? He had over 15,000 movies, essentially made a movie black market in the country on his own just so he could watch movies. He was a big prolific movie buff because he was so disappointed with the propaganda. I mean the movies that were coming out of North Korea. So he went, my people can't make this on their own. We need to steal some people who can actually do it. And that's legitimately his reasoning behind, what happened next. He was like, we need movies. I want movies. So I'm going to steal some good movie people, which apparently was not a totally uncommon thing at the time, but that's a whole lot to get into right there. So Kim Jong-il first kidnapped Choi Yoon-hee, who was a very famous South Korean actress, because A, just because of her skill alone, but B, she was the ex-wife of Shin Sang-ok, who was one of Il's favorite directors and very prolific. And but it was ironic because he was actually not having a great time in the film industry there, and was thinking of moving to America. And then so what happened? Kidnappings. Choi was first kidnapped, and then after that happened, Shin tried to find her himself, but he ended up getting kidnapped as well. Choi was treated to very nice accommodations like hotels, and she has gone on record and said, yeah, she was acting the entire time so she didn't get murdered or something worse happened to her. So, I mean, incredible acting skills right there to fool everyone there. But Shin, he did not get quite the same treatment and was thrown into jail for 5 years and kept there and was beat terribly, and he kept trying to escape. It just didn't work out. Shin kept trying to escape, and his body was destroyed. They starved him. And then Kim Jong-il, like 5 years later, came and went, sorry, but can you make me a movie? And so Shin was like, I guess, because what was already happening is he had already started planning his things like, all right, if I make movies, then we can do movie tours eventually, and we can escape there. And that ended up happening later, a little bit on that soon. But in good news, Shin and Choi reunited, and they got remarried with Kim Jong-il serving as the officiator. So, maybe love can bloom in a dictatorship. That's a free one for you right there, Hallmark. So Shin worked on 7 movies while in North Korea, but the most famous of them all is Pulgasari. Maybe I'll cover those other ones at some point. I really did not do much looking into those once I found Pulgasari because I was just so mind blown. And another thing that's crazy is he had no real budget there. It was just, if you want to do it, you can do it. You have basically the entire country's GDP at your disposal if you want to. They didn't go that far, obviously, but it's fascinating seeing how North Korea, one of the most restrictive places, one of the most restrictive countries in the world, was one of the most lenient on the film industry on the budgetary side. So maybe it's not. I'm not even going to go down that route. This is not a North Korea acceptance place right there. And yes, I may be cutting myself off from visiting there ever with this. Maybe putting myself on a watch list. But hey, I'm talking about the movie, aren't I? I mean, no press is bad press, really. So what they did is they couldn't make it with the people in North Korea. So they shipped in the crew who worked on like a lot of the Godzilla movies. Hence why a lot of the effects are actually pretty good. But it was just hey, come work on a Godzilla movie in China. And the crew went, oh, okay, yeah. And then the plane landed. They're like, hey, you're in North Korea now, so work on the Godzilla knockoff movie for us, or you'll die. And they did it, and then they got to leave freely. And the crazy thing is the guy who was in the suit for Pulgasari, who did a lot of the Godzilla work, he preferred it to the 90s version of Godzilla, the American one. And I can't say I blame him, really. So do with that what you will. Once Kim Jong-il finally saw the movie, he was so proud of it. So he let, Shin and Choi go to a film festival in Vienna. And then what happened there, it's insane. This could be a movie on its own, really. But they got into a cab separate from their North Korean bodyguards, and they told the taxi driver there was drive straight to the U.S. Embassy. So they're going, and literally they were being chased by a second cab full of North Korean bodyguards. And so the only thing that saved them was one lucky red light. And so they escaped past it, and there was a traffic jam. So they had to get out, and they had to sprint into the U.S. Embassy. And once they made it there, they were safe, and they told everything. They were able to return home. But oh my God, can you imagine how terrifying that would have been? If they had been caught, you don't even want to think about what would have happened there. So What actually happens in this movie, though? It is a knockoff of a Godzilla movie made by Kim Jong-il with just so many people who were kidnapped and coerced to be working on it. How did that movie turn out? Before the movie even starts, we get this creepy but actually kind of sick opening that I vibe with, and I don't see why I don't start all my videos with this. The plot of Pulgasari follows a people's revolution against a despot ruler in an unjust kingdom, and then once they win, one of the people's heroes turns against them and creates a worse and even more tyrannical leadership, and I'm sure there are no real-world parallels to that one. Ugh. So what kicks it all off, though, is that the Empire comes to this small village and goes to the blacksmith and says, hey, make us weapons. And then he says, hey, no. And they say, hey, we know you got some rebellion people here. We're taking all of you and throwing you in jail. And so once they're in jail, the blacksmith, he refuses to eat. He refuses to drink any of that stuff. And then as he's dying, he makes a little figure out of rice. And then he dies, and I guess his soul goes into it, and he chucks out a window or something. And then what happens is when his daughter accidentally gets blood on it, it turns into this. Isn't it cute? It's baby Pulgasari, something that will never give Baby Yoda a run for its money. But he does eat all your metal, so he's got that going for him. And he's just kind of uncomfortably sized before he goes full kaiju. Like he's walking around, and you're like, is this someone's weird child, or what's going on here? With the sheer force that Pulgasari is, he manages to help the rebellion finally take out the Empire. They try to bury, they try to shoot, they try to stab, they try to burn, they try to do everything to Pulgasari, and just nothing works. He's not going down. So eventually, he storms the castle, eats a cannonball, shoots it back at people, it a terrible effect, and then finds the Emperor, and he just squishes him. Can you imagine how painful that would be? Just the pure mass of that going right on. Not great. Not a great feeling. So after that, everybody's excited. They're like, finally, we did it. We can, rebuild stuff. And then Pulgasari goes, more metal. He doesn't actually say it. That would have been a nice addition, though. And they keep feeding him, and they start feeding him the tools they need to survive. And they're like, Pulgasari, come on, man. You literally can't eat it. You don't need to. You're full. And he goes, bleh. And then, so the blacksmith's daughter, she's like, I know what to do. And if you think, oh, she's related to him, she can connect with him, they're matched on some blood level, maybe connect him psychically, help find him another place to go, maybe send him on the colonizer, stop them from doing all the terrible stuff they did, that wouldn't be terrible. But no, she goes, I'm going to go inside this metal bell and let him eat me. And when that happens, he turns into a giant statue and explodes just everywhere. And then after that and all the rubble, this friggin' thing, I don't know what it is, just gets out and runs, just scurries off. And that's it. So ends Pulgasari. What the heck was that? I think the best way to describe it would be an unethical masterpiece, if anything. Seeing as how Pulgasari is technically a piece of North Korean propaganda, you'd think its themes would be very cut and dry, but in fact, that's not really true. And it's super interesting about what the movie actually talks about. Starting with the base level stuff, we get a lot of anti-capitalist stuff with how the rulers work the people to death and demand weapons and all that stuff without caring for the workers' well-being. And then later, Pulgasari, representing unethical consumption with just eating metal continuously and continuously. And they're not wrong. That's definitely aspects of capitalism that are terrible and I can't deny. But also, on the other side, the kind of more subtle themes throughout the movie are very anti-communist and specifically like anti-North Korea, with how, the people's revolution, it goes, it succeeds, and it takes out the despot ruler. But then, we thought it was good, but actually it paved the way for something worse in the form of the people's hero, a place Kim Jong-il, and, they kind of supplanted themselves within North Korean, knowledge. And, it's actually a lot worse. Obviously, neither of these themes are too heavily fleshed out because of, the censorship and where it was made in North Korea and all that, and the fact that it had to be shown to Kim Jong-il himself. And I don't know how you'd go be like, hey, the monster in this is you, and expect to come out of that alive, so don't really blame them for not going that full on. But it's just interesting to see how both sides of the coin are kind of, like, hey, not good. And yeah, both sides of the coin in this are not good. So it's just so weird to see a not cut and dry, pure North Korean propaganda movie. Now, for as fascinating as this movie is, it's not really that interesting. The story behind it may even be more interesting, but it's just kind of boring when Pulgasari's not around. Just wrecking shop. A lot of it is just like it's got the flaw that most bad kaiju movies have, where it just focuses on the characters, and you're like, get them out of here. I don't care about them. Go away. But they don't. They stay there, and they kind of suck. Also, between the Empire and the People's Rebellion, it just ends up, something happens with one side and the other goes, oh my god, I can't believe they did this. And then that side does something, and the other side goes, oh my god, I can't believe they did this. And you just keeps going back and forth. However, one thing I really do have to commend the movie on is the practical effects. Again, this was the team that worked on a lot of Godzilla movies, so they knew what they were doing, to say the least. They do a lot of great stuff with, the war scenes and all the fighting, and Pulgasari, some effects on him, especially when it gets stabbed in the eye and just starts bleeding. It's like, that's friggin' metal. I love that. But the Empire also is, the setting and design is very cool. So I think they did a pretty good job there as well. So, seeing as this movie is a kaiju movie, though, how is our big bull creature Pulgasari? Well, just like everything about this movie, he's kind of friggin' weird. He is made out of rice, as I mentioned before, out of a dying blacksmith's soul, I guess. And then immediately after we see that and some brutal scenes of torture, we get baby Pulgasari eating metal. And it's just a lot of tonal whiplash right there. So that's a lot to handle. Then after that, he, slowly gets bigger and bigger. And as he gets bigger, I say his design gets better. He just looks kind of plump and weird and just like diseased almost with how the stuff does not fit him when he's not huge yet. But once he gets there, he's a lot cooler looking. He's based off like the Bulgasari, which is an old mythical thing that would eat metal, so you can see where the connection is. However, one thing I can't get over is his movement. It's either really stiff or it's incredible. And like, look at how he walks. It's so good. He feels like, he thinks he's the coolest guy around. Like, I mean, obviously he is. Look at that walk. Uncool people don't walk like that. But also, personality-wise, he sucks. He does not care about other people. He just cares about metal. He just takes it. He just bails. And then, we see at the end where he's like, we were all cool and I wouldn't be anything without you, but I'm going to eat all your metal. So, screw you. And then it's just, he sucks, man. Pulgasari, come on. Not cool. All in all, Pulgasari is just a weird friggin' movie. It was made by a ton of people who were either kidnapped or lied to. It's made entirely because Kim Jong-il said, I want my own Godzilla for my country. And the worst thing, it's not even that great. However, I do still recommend that you watch it. The full thing is up on YouTube, and also, that's the only way I know how to watch it. I don't think there is anything else that's on. And it's interesting seeing a North Korean movie / propaganda that is not entirely cut and dry, and just seeing one in general. We aren't really exposed to that in modern day. But yeah, it's just a fascinating story. The movie, not the best, but it's fun to watch and just see like, wow, this is such a different style than you would think of normally. Aside from that, though, I think it's good. It's a weird movie, and I gotta go work on my next video. So until next time, goodbye.